Muhammad Ali. Every time I can watch a documentary about Muhammad Ali 50 times in a row and never get tired because I feel like I'm watching my dad. I feel like I'm watching a relative. And I am related to him by marriage. You know, my aunt married his cousin, so that's our claim to fame. But in the same streets that he was running up and down in Louisville, I know those streets. My grandma went to high school with him. My grandma would tell these old Muhammad Ali stories about his daddy and his mama and his family and everything. And to sort of see this guy come out of my little city and just become so phenomenal and so powerful in the world really inspired me. And so also, I felt excited about sort of roaming the same spaces he was in. Like he spent a lot of time in Chicago with the Nation of Islam, and you know what happened with that and everything. And I lived 2 blocks from Farrakhan, and I would go to Farrakhan's house about once a year. It's not like you could just walk up to his house and just be hanging out, But I did meet the minister several times, and I just love him. I have a lot of respect for him. And going to New York, meeting some of the same people in New York, and it's just really inspired me. And I saw something in his documentary where they went out of their way to talk about his relationship with the one and only and the extraordinary Malcolm X. And we know that there was an unfortunate divide between the Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. And I got a lot of friends in the nation, and I just have to be honest and say I love them both, and that ain't gonna change, But I'll tell you what, it was really fascinating because it sort of went into why Ali why he embraced the teachings of the Nation of Islam and why he embraced Malcolm as his friend. And I related to that. I said, okay, I get that. You're a black boy from the South. I was a black boy from the South, and you want to be a black man from the South, and they don't really want you to be a man. Really, in America, I don't think they want the black man to be a full-grown man. They want the black man to be a little girl, a little boy, an ignorant fool, or a punk. That's what they want. If you show up as a little boy, a little girl, an ignorant buffoon, or a punk, then America will embrace you. That's why America loves black comedians. They love black athletes. They love black men who are rappers and stuff like that, entertainers, right? They like all that, but they don't really want you. They don't want you showing up like Malcolm X, and they definitely didn't want Malcolm X hanging out with Muhammad Ali. I mean, there's a lot of political and economic gymnastics that took place when Malcolm and Ali became friends, and Ali embraced the Nation of Islam. And they, right before his first heavyweight fight against Sonny Liston, they told him, "You got to disavow the Nation of Islam, or the fight's going to be called off." He said, "I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that." So they went and they asked Malcolm to leave the city. They said, "Can you please at least leave the city, until after the fight's over, or until the fight." That's what it was. So Malcolm said, "Okay, I'll leave the city to, out of respect for him, and I don't want to mess up his opportunity because that's how my friends in the nation are. They're just smart and logical and intelligent and strategic. So strategically, Malcolm left the city and he came back for the fight, and the rest was history, a black history, extraordinary black history, right? So then he comes out and he's like, "I'm Muhammad Ali, and this is what I believe," and he stood by that, and that's what made him great. That's what made him a legend. That's what made him amazing. And I'm gonna just tell you, I just love all of that. Like I embrace all of that. When I see pictures of Malcolm and Muhammad Ali together, I say, "Oh my God!" Like those are my two favorite men on the planet. Now, the living versions of the men that I love at that level, Dr. Claude Anderson, I love Kenny Gamble out of Philadelphia. I love Dr. George C. Frazier. I love those men that are just strong men, race men that understand what men are supposed to do, provide, protect, support, lead, whatever it is, be smart, be your best, stand up, all these things. And so, anyway, with that said, I wanted to sort of use today's class, if you allow me to break down some of the economic theories of Malcolm X, but to break them down in a way that connects to the fact that there are academic research papers written that support many of the economic philosophies of Malcolm X. Now, if you remember, Malcolm's life and what he stood for a lot of the things that we believe in the Black Business School: economic self-reliance. Self-reliance. You have to have something of your own if you're ever going to be stronger, successful in America. That's just a fact. If you don't own something, then you're really standing on a slippery slope. You're always on thin ice. That which you claim to possess can be taken away from you at any moment. If I'm renting a house, the landlord can take that house. If I only have jobs and don't own any assets, the landlord of that job can take the job. So even with a job, you are renting your financial security. You're paying for it in sweat, blood, and tears, but there's nothing there really typically that protects you from the fact that they may just decide to downsize and make cuts, and next thing you know, you're gone. He also talked about ownership. Ownership is the new black. Wealth is the new black. Tell me if you agree. Wealth is the new black. Ownership's the new black. Economics is the new black. Can we agree on that? We should put that damn thing on a damn t-shirt. I might get I think I'm gonna get a t-shirt. I'm sure somebody else made a shirt similar to it. We about to do that. I'm gonna text my assistant right now. Or actually, I'm sorry, she's my chief operations officer now. Her name is Teresa. She used to be my assistant, but she's so smart. I said, hey, you should be the chief operations officer because you're smart. She's been with us for 7 years. I'm gonna text her after we're done. We're gonna put that on a damn shirt. That wealth is the new black. Um, I personally think that as black people, just the embracement of some of Malcolm's ideas, and Malcolm kept it plain, he kept it simple. That's why everybody loved him. That's why everybody connected to him. He could talk to anybody, and everybody's like, yeah, that's right. We should have our own stuff. We should have self-reliance. We should own assets. He also believed in the circulation of dollars. You should be sharing your money with your brother or your sister before you start sharing it with strangers who hate your guts. That's called common sense. That's called self-esteem. That's called self-awareness. That's called financial consciousness. So ultimately, with Malcolm, those are kind of three core ideas that Malcolm believed in. Now, what I wanted to do to supplement the great work of the legendary Malcolm X is I want to sort of box it in the context of economic theory for you. Academic research papers have been written on this. This is common sense for Malcolm, and he read books and things, but this idea of self-reliance, ownership, and also circulating your dollars, there are research papers written on this topic. So what I want to do is cover a few of these studies that have been done to really help you understand why this is essential. And it isn't just essential for the whole community. Let me start right there too, to make it more personal, more direct. Sometimes it's hard to connect to a big vision for the whole black community. It's hard to connect to this idea that every black person is going to get on the same page. We're all going to do the same thing. We're all going to agree. We're all going to be aligned. That's just hard. I don't know. Anybody else go through that where you just like, man, ain't no way we can all be in alignment. I'm out of alignment with a whole bunch of black. I'll be like, man, you're stupid. Like what? That stop twerking. Stop twerk. Stop. Don't shoot the black guy. Stop that. Right? Like, don't talk about your mama like that. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not an igger. Stop calling. Don't call yourself. No, stop that. I know white folks giving you money. I know that they paying you good, but that's not good. That's not help. Put down the blunt. But stop. No more Hennessy for you, right? You get frustrated, right? You get so mad when you just see all kinds of shenanigans and chaos. And so I'm not gonna lie. I am not a fan of I've never been a person that can sit in the audience when somebody's like, we just got to get 40 million people to all do the same thing. I'm like, how the hell you gonna do that? You can't do that. That's not gonna work. Only oh, the closest that's ever come, maybe the Democratic Party could do. That might be the only institution that's been able to get nearly all black people to do the same thing. I don't know how they did it. They put something in the Kool-Aid. But here's the thing. Here's what's beautiful about it. To get real economic power, you don't need everybody on the same page. You don't need everybody on the front line. You don't need everybody leading. You don't need everybody absolutely out here killing it. You just need to make sure that your best show up as their best. You don't need everybody. You just need a few good men and a few good women. That's what you need. I heard Farrakhan say that where he said, "Give me 10,000 solid black men and we're ready to go." And I said, "Yeah, that's it. That's good." Because one solid man is worth 100 flimsy men. One solid black woman is worth 100 flimsy black women. So literally, if you just sort of make sure that those who get it, and that you got it, and that you run with it, and that you stand on it, and that you put it down, and you push it, and you scramble for it, and you defend it, and you fight for it, then guess what? You have progress because those individuals who become leaders who learn those basics in terms of economics, they learn how to create jobs and build wealth and create financial security, then that becomes very contagious. that becomes very contagious. People start to copy that, they start to emulate that. If you ever know, if you want to know what I'm talking about, a lot of times you try to tell somebody about your plan to be successful and they don't listen. But then as soon as you go out and execute the plan and you become successful, those same people are usually coming up and saying, "Well, how did you do it? How do I do like you? How do I become like you?" Right? And it might be after they ask to borrow $20. So you say, "Look, I'll loan you $20, but after I give you some money, I'm gonna give you some game. Shut up and listen to me now." Because now I have power because I just gave you $20, which shows I care about you. But I also am going to give you something more valuable than the $20. I'm going to show you how to fish. I'm going to show you how to win. People will respond to that, especially young people. So don't always worry about getting everybody on the same page. Get yourself on the same damn page. Half of y'all, I bet half of us in this room, me, myself included, half of us are not even on the same page with ourselves. We're not. We're certainly not on the same page with our purpose. We're certainly not on the same page with God. We're not on the same page with what God intended for us to be. We're living another life. We're living in the closet. We're being something that we were not intended to be. We're distracted. So before you try to get the whole community on the same page, get on the same page with yourself. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself. Because I have different voices. There's many. I have multiple personalities. I'm probably diagnosable. Um, there's the lazy voice. There's the unfocused voice. There's the voice you might see playing video games on YouTube. Y'all ever see me play video? I play Call of Duty sometimes with my friends because it's fun. Um, there's the voice that has doubts. There's the voice that has fears. There's the voice that don't want to do no work right now. There's the voice that isn't being the best version of himself. There's the fat voice. You saw him years ago. The fat voice. He didn't exercise. He didn't want to eat the right food, right? So there's those versions of voice, but then there's the other voice, right? There's the focused voice. There's the intellectual voice. There's the fearless voice. There is the determined voice. There is the disciplined voice. There's the voice that gets up at 5 a.m. There's the voice that goes hard every day. There's the voice that believes in something and sticks with. So that version of him is the one I need to show up every day. So I got to get on the same page with him. Do you understand? So before you get the world on the same page with you, ain't nothing holy and righteous about any of us. None of us are holier than thou or better than other people. Get on the same page with yourself. Get on the same page with your purpose. Get on the same page with God. I see it that deep. I really see consciousness is getting closer to God. I can explain that to you actually mathematically if you ever want me to break it down. But literally get on the same page with all of that. And then what you'll notice is that when you do that, when you're just living in your purpose and you're making it happen, and you're marching forward relentlessly, you'll turn around, there'll be 50 people following you. They'll just be right behind you. There's something magical about you. You've unlocked a superpower that maybe you didn't know that you have. So here's what I'm gonna go through really quickly with Malcolm X, very quickly. And before I do that, I want to mention really fast. Let's see. Last night, Jay Cameron did his thing with the Ghana trip. You guys know we're going to Ghana this summer. Um, I'll try to get that recording out to you. I'll try to make sure I hit Chanel up about the recording and send that to you if you want to watch it. Number two, what was the other thing too? Oh, Constance Carter, one of the faculty members in the Black Business School. Actually, she's going to do a daily class as well. And so this is something we did Money in the Morning, the Millionaire Training Camp this year. It went really well. And I said, you know what? Constance, maybe you should do this too. That way we can be with our people every day and talk to them every day. A lot of you have come in here and seen Constance. You've seen how great she is, how smart she is. So basically, she's going to actually be doing her thing right after I get done. So what I'll do is I will text you all the link so you can go join Constance and hang out with her if you're into this whole Black economics thing and you just want to keep, just hang out with us for a big chunk of the day. I know Madam President does some stuff earlier in the morning as well. So these are people that are sort of in our clique. These are people in our group, people that we love. You've seen them at the All Black National Convention, and they have something very positive to say and beneficial. So I'll send you all the links. So if you see Constance's name in a text message, you'll know what that is. So anyway, with that said, let's talk about Malcolm's economic theories and break some of those down. Number one, there is actually an economic field or theory called community wealth building, and I'm going to read some of it here. It emphasizes local ownership of resources, cooperative business models, and the retention of wealth within communities. So basically, the community wealth theory backs up what Malcolm was saying. It basically says that wealth creation should prioritize community benefit over external profit extraction. All that means is that you take care of your own before you start taking care of everybody else. That's really all it's saying. It's saying it's like a type of nationalism. Malcolm was a nationalist, uh, which means that success and prosperity starts at home. It means that if you have a job available, you hire your friend or family member if you can. You go outside of the space if you have to. If you have a dollar to spend, you try to spend it with people that are in your circle. If you can't, then you might go outside of the circle, right? So you do a little bit of both. Also, there are institutions like cooperatives. You probably heard these terms. Give me a guess if you've heard about any of these terms. Has anybody ever heard of a co-op? Co-ops are in this space. Credit unions are built on building community wealth. Locally owned businesses, etc. So a lot of times they're used to create economic ecosystems where the money just kind of gets reinvested. And a lot of other communities do this. The Amish do this. The Mormons do this. The Mormons are amazing. The Mormons, they went out to Salt Lake City with what's the guy's name? One day I got to tell y'all the story of Brigham Young University. Didn't they actually they beat didn't they I think they beat Coach Prime's team in their bowl game. They beat them kind of bad too. I think it was Brigham Young. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. There's a bunch of corny white dudes, but they were good. Anyway, so Brigham Young went out to Salt Lake City with a bunch of families, and they said, "Let's build our own." And literally, I think they found out that the Mormons had secretly held like $100 billion in wealth in a vault or something crazy like that. It was in the Wall Street Journal where they were like, they basically were like, the Mormons secretly have $100 billion that they told nobody about. So it's pretty powerful. And what they've done, I think, is that they've actually just taken their faith and tied it into their lifestyle, the way they live and their economics, and I'm not mad at them for it. It provides financial security. Salt Lake City will not go broke anytime in the near future. Number two, there's something called the endogenous growth theory. So this theory supports the idea that investments in local human capital, innovation, and entrepreneurship drive economic growth. Entrepreneurship, innovation, human capital, human capital. Let's translate that. That means that we have all these precious babies. We have $1 trillion worth of babies in our community, $1 trillion worth of kids, and we cannot keep selling our children up the river to the first white man that will hire them for any crappy job that they're willing to do or that will give them just enough money to pay bills. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to invest in them, and you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset where you can understand human capital. Human capital is the value of a human being. It's the value of a human being's ideas, the value of a human being's labor, the value of a human being's free time, the value of a human being's existence. So you must understand before you start really extracting your worth, you have to be able to see it. Before you start extracting your worth, you have to see it because once you see it, you won't be so quick to give it away. This is consciousness. This is what financial consciousness is. Because before I acquire wealth, I got to know where the wealth is located. Before I own it, I got to be able to visualize it. I have to see something before I grab it. You can't grab something that doesn't exist. A lot of wealth gets passed up. I stand on this point. Most wealth gets passed up because people don't even see it when it walks right by them. Tell me I'm lying. I've run into so many people who passed up $1 million opportunities because they were looking for a paycheck. All their eyes were trained to see was a pay. How much is I gonna get paid? That's all they could see. Now paychecks matter. We know this, right? They're very good, especially if you're trying to pay bills and get by. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. Sometimes it's like dating, right? Sometimes it's really like dating. It's a lot like dating. Some people date with no consciousness. They date the prettiest girl with the biggest booty, and then next thing you know, they're miserable and they don't know why. Or they go after the man who has the most money because he's 6 feet tall, and then they're miserable and they don't know why. Well, the reason they don't know why, the reason that they end up like getting a bunch of stuff they didn't sign up for is because they didn't spend the time to gain consciousness. They don't have a full throttle vision of what they're actually investing in. They'll look at a guy and they'll look for one thing. How much money you got, right? And if he's got no money, they'll say, "Oh, girl, I ain't interested in him." But they're not looking at all these other things this man may have to offer. right? That are seen and unseen. They're not even taking the time to explore any of that, not doing the due diligence on the investment. Next thing you know, you pick the other guy because he's tall and has money, and but he beats you up and and kills your cat, and and now you're mad, right? So really, I think it's the same way when it comes to wealth and investing. When I was in college and I had no financial consciousness, most of us, when we picked our jobs, we simply picked the job that paid the most money. That's what we would do. It wasn't always the case that we would look at five or six other criteria to say, okay, how's this going to fit in my life when I'm 40? What are the growth opportunities in this organization? How does this fit with my work-life balance? Right? You don't learn these things until you get older and you start saying, yeah, I had a job making a whole lot of money, but it was terrible. Like when I got my dream job, I've told you all the story about my dream job. I got my dream job when I was 19 or 21 maybe. I turned 21 that's no, I turned 20 that summer. I was 19 and I hated that damn job. That job was so terrible. Oh my God. Right. And that was my introduction to wealth consciousness. Like, okay, boys, we can't be going after the most money because sometimes something seems to have the most money but it may not be what's best for you. So the same thing is true when you talk about economic consciousness or you're talking about economic, the endogenous growth theory, that when you're talking about our kids and you're talking about our community and the people that are in it, there's so much value there. And you have to learn how to see that value. So you got that child who's really good with math, who's good with or who likes computers or whatever. And you're visualizing, okay, what are they going to do? Well, you can get a great job working for Google or IBM. And that might be true. Of course, Google and IBM would hire that child because yeah, they love to hire little black geniuses and pay them far beneath what they're actually worth. But maybe what you then say is, maybe if we train this child on some other economic skills, maybe if we show this child how to be an investor, maybe if we build a capital base for that child, maybe if we also teach them how to create a job and create prosperity for others, right? Right. It's one thing if you make yourself successful, that's nice, but it's really cool when you can make 40 other people successful too. That's really powerful. That's when you go from being like a little match to becoming a nuclear bomb of success is when you learn how to scale that success. That is a way of thinking. That is a type of economic consciousness. That is something you can be trained on. That is something you should be learning from the time you're young. So, endogenous growth theory, Malcolm was right about the idea of sort of exploring our human capital, investing in innovation, creative ways to use that capital, and also entrepreneurship, black owned business, black owned business, black owned business. We cannot have wealth, we cannot have power if everybody out here is looking for a damn job. That you will never have power that way. All right, what else? Okay, and by the way, that theory came from a guy named Paul Romer, and he talks about things like education, innovation, and skill building as a pathway to long-term economic growth. He don't mention nothing about rapping, playing basketball, or telling jokes for a living. None of that's in the theory. It's all about education, innovation, and skill building. All right, number three, economic empowerment theory. This is another thing that's been written about in thousands of research papers that connects to what Malcolm was discussing. And basically, this theory focuses on increasing the capacity of marginalized groups to control and benefit from their economic resources. So it suggests that marginalized groups achieve empowerment by gaining access to financial resources, education, and ownership structures. So this is why when they really start talking about reparations, and they really show up and they say, well, what do you black people want? If they happen to ask you, if they call you on the phone and say, what do you want? One of the things I think that you might want to consider bringing up is access to capital, access to resources. So basically, if someone gave you a big enough bank loan, that could be better than them giving you a check. I'm not saying that a check is not nice, but if you gave me a choice for the Black Business School and you said, what would you rather have, a $1 million grant or a $30 million loan? I would say, give me the loan. I give me the loan because I get to control $30 million in resources that allows me to further the mission that much more, that much faster. And now, yeah, I got to pay the loan back, sure, but capital is a moneymaker if you know what to do with it. You can take capital and I can instantly deploy it and say, okay, we're making an extra $5 million a year now because we've been able to deploy this capital properly. So access to resources is a really important part of economic growth, according to economic empowerment theory. Also, education and ownership structure. See, notice the theme of education, education, education. Also, education does not mean going to school all the time. Going to school can lead to education, but there's a lot of educated fools. So going to school is not the same as education. Education is not the same as knowledge. And knowledge is not the same as wisdom. Those are different tiers to the process. So if somebody says, well, I'm going to have wisdom, and you say, well, you got to go to school, there's more to it than that. Being inside a building with a bunch of walls and with ivy coming down the tower and all that, that does not give you education. That does not make you wise. It doesn't give you knowledge. What knowledge do you have that specifically applies to the problems that you're seeking to solve as a black person? That to me, that's what education should do. It should be targeted like a gun. I'm not just spraying bullets everywhere, hoping for the best. I'm gonna look at the target, get it the bullseye, pew, hit that bullseye, right? Are you hitting the bullseye with the education for your kids? What are they investing their time and energy into? Time is not something to be wasted. Time is something that is precious and valuable. You will run out of it. Are you spending time doing the right things, learning the right things, getting the skills that will specifically help you solve the problems that you're going to have to solve? So if I'm looking at my child, I'm asking, what are the biggest problems they're going to have to solve when they're a 35-year-old black woman, with two kids and a spouse? What are their biggest problems going to be? And once I figure that out, then I say, okay, that's what we're going to train on. Just like when my Ohio State Buckeyes won the national championship in football, they're studying the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they are preparing. They're looking to see, okay, what exactly is their biggest strength? What are they going to try to do to beat us? What specific skill set does our team have to have in order for us to win the championship? And that's why you watch the film. So when it comes to life, you got to watch the film. And the film is everywhere. God lays it out for you everywhere. There are examples of misery everywhere. There's examples of failure everywhere. There's examples of stress and struggle everywhere. Economic struggle, it ain't hard to find. So to me, I say to you, if you're talking about trying to understand this game and how to get your kids ready, go watch the film, watch the tape. Pay attention. Somebody dies from a drug overdose. Maybe drugs aren't bad. Somebody dies from diabetes and heart failure. Maybe all that fried chicken ain't so good for us. Somebody else is over here crying and sleeping with a fat, dusty old man to get rent money. Maybe my daughter should have an investment account so she doesn't have to do that, right? Watch the film. You gotta watch the film. If you watch the film, it'll tell you everything you need to know, because life ain't nothing but a big ass classroom. It's a classroom, it's a book. Everything that's in an academic book that you can read on a college campus came from the world. It came from the world. The world is a big university full of lessons everywhere. So the question I ask people, and this goes back to consciousness, is that it's like, okay, God is trying to tell you something. Did you get the message? Right? When DMX and Whitney Houston die, these billion-dollar assets die from drugs. Did you get the message, or are you just spending all your time being sad, waiting for the next tragedy to happen? Right? When you see somebody that got their dream job because they went to Yale and got a master's degree, but they're coming home every day, drinking themselves to sleep and angry as hell because of the racism on the job. Did you get the message? Did you sit back and say, let me think about that? Right? Or did you just say, "Oh, white people be mean. They need to stop that. White people need to stop. They need to stop being mean to us. That ain't right. That ain't right. Yeah, it ain't right." But you should learn from people. And in fact, I'll tell you, as much as I love Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, if I was to really critique them, and again, I think this might be a superpower that you get, because just when you get a PhD in the field I was in, you get criticized constantly. You can do the best work on earth. You can literally do work that could lead to a Nobel Prize, and somebody in there is going to be in there hating on your work. Not in a negative way, not in a toxic way, but in a way where they're going to poke holes, right? Iron sharpens iron. So you just get in a space where everything can be critiqued, everything, right? So even if you were to hear me talk about the life of Malcolm X or the life of Muhammad Ali, and I was to talk about it in a deeply critical way where I really have assessed and analyzed and thought about the mistakes they made, you would really think I don't like either one of these men. You would. You would be like, boys be hating on Muhammad Ali. Boys don't like Malcolm. But he hate on Muhammad because he talked about all the women that he was with and how all those women took all his money. No, that's just a lesson I learned. Like Muhammad Ali was very charismatic because he's like, I'm so pretty, and the women thought he was pretty too. So he was sleeping with all of them. And then you saw what happened, right? He lost all that money. And none of those women were sticking by him when that poor man started to degenerate. But he found him a good wife named Lonnie who pulled his wealth back together. That lady saved his legacy, right? And I just love that. I think she was from Louisville too, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think she might have been from Louisville. I just love that. I'm a Louisville guy, right? So that's a big deal for me. Or if you think about just getting punched in the head till you're 45 years old, maybe that wasn't the best move for him, right? Because I think Ali had another 50 years of amazing work that he would have done had boxing not taken so much from him. So there's a lesson to learn from that. So I would encourage you to not think of a critique as hating, right? Some people that are simple-minded kind of they think of everything as either I love everything about what you say or I hate everything you say. And I think that that is just the absolute worst way to assess anything. Um, Everything is nuanced. So and through the nuance is where you get the lesson. That's where you learn. You're watching the film, you're figuring it out. And when on game day, like my Ohio State Buckeyes, you can actually show up and win. So that's it. That's my thought for today. I ain't got nothing else. So so by the way, Constance Carter is gonna be live in a little bit, maybe 20 minutes after I'm done, and I'll text you all the link. But also, if you want to be notified when she does her daily class, she wants to do this every day. She's a hustler like I am, and so you can text the word Constance to 87948. Text Constance to 87948. Also, you guys know we have money in the morning. We also have these bite-sized lessons. You can learn different topics, real estate or stock options, called Money in a Minute. And Money in a Minute allows you within the flow of your day to just digest your lesson in less than 3 minutes and to learn this topic. So I have something on stock options called Money in a Minute stock options. Some of you have already done it, but those of you who haven't, I'll send you all a link where you can sign up at a discounted rate. You'll get that later on today. And also, just as an FYI, this week I'm flying to Europe, and which means my time schedule is going to be a little bit off. So I may end up having to miss class a day or so. I hope I don't. But my goal is to basically try to sync it up. But they're 7 hours ahead or something, and I'm going over there to see one of my girls, and I can't wait. And so I'll be broadcasting to you guys from across the sea next time we talk tomorrow. Someone asked, "Can you explain how God and mathematics are related?" Well, I can get to that a little bit later. That's more of a full thorough conversation, but basically it has to do with dimensions, right? When you do mathematics, like particularly starting with one topic called linear algebra or multivariate calculus, you go into higher dimensions, and basically dimensions are structured in a certain way. And basically, long story short, when you get to the sixth dimension, they say that's where God lives. God lives in the sixth dimension, mathematically speaking. But one day we'll talk about that. So that's my connection there. All right. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And don't forget, if you're not on the text list for this class, just text the word morning to the phone number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Oh, and one more thing too. A lot of you have asked to be, if you could be affiliates on the Black Wealth Mastery Store, where we sell our financial flashcards for kids, our financial workbooks for kids. Dr. Alicia's books are on there. My books are on there. So we actually set up an affiliate program. I think the original commission was 10%. I'm going to up that to 20%, actually. And so if you are looking to build a business, I'd love to be in business with you. I'd love to, build together. So I will text you all only people in this class, the link where you can sign up and become an affiliate. And yeah, and so that means you start a YouTube channel or you see people that love what's going on here and you want to tell them about it, or you want to talk to your church about it or your school about it, whatever, then if they buy something from us, then you will get a commission. And again, we started at 10%. I said, no, I want to go to 20% so that it makes more sense. So you will get the link, Toya. I'm going to text the link out. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the phone number 87948. All right. So have a good day, everybody. And by the way, the store, if you want to take a look at it, it's at drboycebooks.com, drboycebooks.com. Okay, you did get it. You did sign up, Crystal. Okay, great. Let me know, and I'm going to ask you all about it because this is an experiment. We've been talking about this for a while. Finally, the team was able to implement it, and finally, I got around to actually, sharing it and implementing it on my end. So now we're going to give it a try, and hopefully, it'll go as well as we hope.